Cheers. Welcome to Culture Night,
where each week we drink fancy wine and watch movies that are in some way culturally significant. I'm Andrew.
And I'm Sarah, and we are back for our Season 7, Episode 4.
Yep.
And just rolling right on through them.
Yeah, it's going to be a little bit of change of pace this week. So.
Definitely. I think anything is a big change of pace from Schindler's List.
But what won't be a change of pace is the wine we're drinking tonight.
The wine! Tonight we are drinking the 2020 Big Shot from Tobin James. Can you read us the breakdown on the back?
This one is 44% Syrah, 32% Grenache, 16% Mourvedre, 6% Cinsault, and 2% Coinoise. We combined these noble varietals to create a wine that is truly the, quote, Big Shot with an exclamation point.
How much Mourvedre?
So we got 44 Syrah, 32 Grenache, 16 Mourvedre, 6% Cinsault, 2% Coinoise.
It is the exact same.
Same blend?
Same blend of grapes.
Interesting. I wonder if they change that each year or...
I know. We still had this one out from last week. That's how you can tell we're filming these back-to-back weeks. We haven't gotten rid of the bottle yet. So I was like, maybe we will see if there's a difference. And this says it's the same. So...
All right, let's check it out.
Maybe it's just their like standard recipe formula for a Big Shot wine.
Mm-hmm. Does seem a little bit more going on the nose.
Yes.
More a little jammy berry.
Yes. Jammy, but like it still always has that like cinnamon.
Mm-hmm. This one we got in a shipment today, so it is hot off the press.
That's exactly what I was going to say. Ooh, a lot more flavor right on the front.
Yeah, wow. A lot more viscous. Wow, really? Raspberry.
Yes. Tart cherry too.
Mm-hmm. Definitely less sour than last week.
Mm-hmm. I think this is what we had in our previous Big Shot episodes.
So right off the bat, much, much better.
Mm-hmm. So maybe this is when...
Helps also that I don't have raging heartburn like I did when we started last week's episode.
I did not have raging heartburn, and I didn't really love it either. So maybe we need to start drinking our wines as soon as we get our shipments in instead of waiting for...
We do not have a
high
quality wine cellar by any means. They stay in a cardboard box in a fairly well-conditioned corner of our basement where there's no sunlight.
Yes, no sun, no windows,
as
total
insulated,
darkness.
built into the hills as could possibly be, but again, not a wine cellar.
It's definitely better than how we used to keep them, which was just on a wine rack in the middle of our living room.
In the direct sunlight.
Yes. So we're getting better. Look at us maturing. Are we getting finer with age?
Maybe. We're at least learning things.
All right. So now that we know what we are drinking, let's jump into what are we watching tonight?
This week we are watching Saving Private Ryan from 1998. It is rated R. Now let's hop back into our time machine, back to 1998. Where the top 3 movies released that year were Titanic, grossing $488 million, Armageddon, which we've seen in the past on this show, grossing $201 million, so less than half of that. And then third was Saving Private Ryan, grossing $190 million. That one came out in July. So
Titanic came out in December of 97, so it had a whole 6 months on both Armageddon and Saving Private Ryan.
Right. And also it was like Ryan. One of the best movies ever made by everyone. Blah blah blah. It was a huge movie.
So I was actually thinking about this earlier, and I didn't remember exactly what year this was from, but I was thinking about this movie in general, and like in my mind, I always think about Saving Private Ryan and Armageddon together, and I didn't realize that they came out the same year. But it was just I felt like honestly, all 3 of these are obviously giant movies, but I remember Armageddon and Saving Private Ryan being just like, have you seen it? Like everybody was just on and on and on. And I don't know if that's just because at this point we were 7, 8, maybe like finally old enough to start listening to what parents and adults and people around us were saying. But I always grouped them together.
Age we would have really started actually having memories and remembering those kind of things.
True. But I think they were very big movies and still are.
Yes. I don't think they have much in common.
No.
But they obviously came out around the same time. Titanic, I feel like that one, it's weird. I always associate it with 1997. Maybe just I've like seen that name listed on like various like streaming services and whatnot. I did not realize it came out at the very end of 97. Mm-hmm. But anyways, the next thing is the top 3 songs released that year were Too Close by Next, The Boy Is Mine by Brandy and Monica, and You're Still the One by Shania Twain. Absolute banger.
Yes. I'm sure the same conversation we had back with Armageddon was that we don't really know the top 2.
Mm-hmm. Sure, we've heard them, but
yeah, Shania Twain though.
Yeah,
had the key to my heart.
Number 1 in our hearts for sure. So, have you seen Saving Private Ryan before?
I don't think so. Again, I've been deep in thought about this all day. I'm like 50% sure I have and 50% sure I haven't. I'm wondering if I saw it or parts of it in school. I know. Maybe it's Pearl Harbor I'm thinking of.
It's rated R though. I don't know.
There was something, one of them, one big World War II movie I definitely watched in school, and I'm pretty sure we had to get parent permission, and maybe they like skipped the really bad parts or whatever. But I don't.
Just taped it on TV.
I don't think so. TBD. Stick around to see if I have, but I'm pretty sure I haven't.
See, I'm like 98% sure that I have, but I think it was like back around the time that it came out, like on VHS, renting it from Blockbuster.
Oh, the good old days.
I probably had to go to bed like an hour in. So
that tracks so hard.
So my memory of it is essentially none. I do know a couple small things about it, but I don't think it's really consequential. I don't think it's gonna. I don't think it'll be a spoiler, but I'm not gonna say it yet.
And I mean, it's also like a World War II movie, so it's probably my guess is it's probably gonna be the Americans are fighting the Germans. I assume it is a European front version of World War II, and I'm guessing they're gonna have to save Private Ryan.
That's a good guess. That's wrong. No, I'm kidding. Yeah, my guess is something where it's like they're, I don't know if it's like D-Day or something, but someone gets stuck, way behind enemy lines. And I wonder if it's a situation where they are trying to save him, but end up like losing way more in the process, like trying to save one person. And,
or maybe it's like a Masters of the Air situation, like pilot ejects and is lost and captured behind enemy lines. It's some kind of like saving situation, or it's just the name of some mission that has nothing to do with saving an individual person. And I don't know, it can go a lot of ways.
If you rearrange the letter.
We're getting really deep over here.
So,
all right, I think that wraps it up for our pre-show, and now it's time to jump into Saving Private Ryan.
Catch you on the other side.
Cheers.
Cheers.
Cheers. That was Saving Private Ryan.
We saved Private Ryan.
I was about to say this is Culture Night. I forgot what segment we were in.
We are in the after show.
Yes.
All right.
Ready to jump into our wine scale.
I am ready to jump right into it. So our wine scale is a 0 to 10 scale. However, the scale is heavily weighted because all of the wine we drink on this show is very good wine. So a low score does not necessarily mean that it is not a good wine because, as I said, the scale is heavily weighted. So that being said, I'm going to rate this wine a 6.
I was going to give it a 6.1. Very close.
There we go.
We're back on track.
I'll say mine. It was pretty good. Like I said, kind of had like a good, like juicy flavor to it. Not too sweet, not too sour. Just a pretty
It was very solid
choice. And a 6, like I said, is a very good score because it's heavily weighted. Like we'll give some good wines like a 2.
I was going to say even a 2 or 3 is a good score.
So if you see the 2020 Big Shot, that is a buy.
Yes. So now
we'll move on to our
movie rating.
Yes.
I hate this. I always feel dread because I have to come up with my score first. But I think for this one, I'm going to give it an 8.1.
I'm going to give it a 7.3.
I just feel like I had to go. So I was thinking as we were shuffling between finishing the movie and getting over here, I gave last week an 8.3 and I backed it off to an 8 on this Slept On segment. I liked this a lot more. More rewatchable. I felt like it was more entertaining. Obviously, Schindler's List is depressing AF. Cinematically, I thought they were both very interesting. Like this one, I have lots of notes about it. Like I feel like it was very intentionally shot in a lot of ways, and I really liked that. And I feel like I would watch this again multiple times before I would watch Schindler's List again. So that's where I get my 8.
I gave my score and there was no thought, and I panicked because I realized I hadn't given a score yet, and I was quickly trying to give one, and then I started actually thinking through it. Not at all swayed by your score. I'm actually going to think myself through this out loud. You guys are going to come along with this journey in real time. So usually I rate these things on a couple different metrics. The overall enjoyment, rewatchability, quotability, cultural significance, those kind of things. So like also like for rewatchability, is it also like if you're just flipping through channels and it's on, how much likely are you going to just kind of pick up at a certain point and go on through it? So overall, like enjoyment, I really did enjoy it. Like there wasn't really much like downtime or boring or like I can't believe this is still going on type thing. It had good pacing to it. Overall enjoyable, nothing too annoying about it. Cultural significance, I think it had a lot of significance in being just talked about so much through our generation.
Pop culturally, for sure.
We'll talk more about that in a second. Rewatchability, like I said, I was pretty sure that I had seen it all the way through. I definitely have now that I've seen more of this. My memory was kind of hazy, but I definitely enjoy it, and I could see myself watching it again, or if I was watching it on TV, picking up more of it. Quotability, not as much, but I think there was like some clips, or at least one clip that I think is used as a meme.
I also think that if we watched this a second time, there'd probably be something. I mean, it's a bunch of dudes like ribbing on each other for a good section of it. We'd probably pick up on some kind of quotability from it. So I kind of am trying to think of like reasons why I would dock it for any of those things, and I feel like it's got to be closer to like a 9. So I'm gonna go like a 8.8. 8.8. Okay. So see, that's why. I feel like we should. The number that I gave, I was not influenced by your number. I think you said 8.8. Yeah. I feel like we should talk through it before we give a number more, because I feel like sometimes, like you said, like those things through, like while the movie was wrapping up, and I totally forgot this time. And I mean, I was kind of thinking about it, and I remembered last week's score, so I knew I had to bump it up from there. But then every time you're like, okay, and now moving on from the wine score, I'm like, oh my god, I have to give a score, and then I get really stressed, and I did not, like you said, I did not have a number picked. Yeah. So that's where I am now. And then as we sleep on it, we will also tell you our updated score as we kind of process it a bit more, do some more research. Not that we want to be swayed by what everyone else thought about it, but as we learn more, understand it a bit better, we'll give you our final score later in the Subplanet segment. Yeah. And I have found that the more we do this podcast and the more movies we watch, it's like, oh, I have not thought about that movie one single time since whenever we watched it. Like, I got to dock that back. And then there's some movies that I think about constantly. Where I'm like, oh man, that was crazy. And those where I'm like, oh, maybe I should bump it up a little bit more. That it like, and I think that's the power of like the art of film is you want it to stick with people. Yeah. And some of the movies we've watched have not been very great. But sometimes like I look at it as, kind of like adding up those various metrics that I look at. Other times I then think of it like, what would I take from it? What would I dock it for? And that's why if like Forrest Gump was a 10, like what do you possibly change or correct about that? Like overall enjoyable, like so many things that we look at in grading these movies for our scores, it meets. So this one, I was trying to think of it from that perspective. And I'm also realizing that I think Tom Hanks might just be in some good movies. Right? I just think he might just like be a really good actor. Yeah. And at least like have a really good eye for scripts that he wants to be involved with. Very true. So now let's move into the movie description out of 10. The movie description. Sorry, I was reading the we're starting earlier than normal. We should be on top of our game. The movie description is there is a soldier in the army for D-Day, and his brothers have all died. They were serving in the armies. The three brothers, I don't know if it was older or younger, he was in the middle or anything like that. 3 other brothers that had died. The army realizes this and does not want the news to kind of break that like all this tragic story of all 4 brothers dying. So they quickly put together a mission for some of the soldiers who survived D-Day to go rescue him wherever he is and bring him home before he could possibly complete the quadfecta of all the brothers dying. And the soldiers are kind of conflicted about that, of weighing one soldier's life over another. Very good. The description, according to the TV, is as U.S. troops storm the beaches of Normandy, 3 brothers lie dead on the battlefield with a 4th trapped behind enemy lines. Ranger Captain John Miller and 7 men are tasked with penetrating German-held territory and bringing the boy home. I will say both you and this start with actually talking about Private Ryan, and my brain's first thought was like, well, Tom Hanks is on the boat and he storms D-Day. Like it was all Tom Hanks. And we don't even meet Matt Damon until like the last 20 minutes of the movie. Maybe more than that. But well, because it's not called Private Ryan, it's called Saving. So yeah, it's about the adventure of saving him. It's like he's just at the end. So my thought is to put it more from. Correct. I also didn't know his name was John or Miller until I saw the headstone. Yeah, his name was Tom Hanks. Yeah. You're not wrong. Captain Hanks, if you will. Was the movie what you expected? Yeah, I will say, I feel like I did a pretty good job of making guesses of this movie. And I can confirm, have not seen it until last night. Yeah, I think I was kind of trying to wonder if he'd already been captured, and that's what they're trying to get at. I didn't remember the whole backstory of the brothers at any point. I mean, I obviously didn't know that, but I said something about being a pilot or on a plane and ejecting and being lost behind enemy lines, which he was, and they were as a Obviously, we said it could have gone multiple ways, but I feel like I had threads of truth in there.
Yeah, we were pretty close.
And it was a movie about World War II, so like, can't be but so wrong.
How well did it age?
Well, I think it could be made exactly today. Honestly, I think half of the people could still be in it. Mm-hmm. Yeah. And you wouldn't really tell because they have not aged very much.
And there were a lot of people that were in this. We'll get to that a little bit
Andrew
later.
is dying to talk about the cast.
I can't think of anything about the movie that really didn't age, other than it did have kind of that like late 90s feel of some of the shots and the emotion in it, if that makes sense.
Yeah, but it was just really good. It was so good.
But I think it would have been like a pure like 90s over the top like plot armor type thing if Tom Hanks, spoiler alert, if Tom Hanks's character had survived. Mm-hmm. But
did they say the title of the movie?
Hell yeah, they did.
I thought he was going to punch me in the face. He was
so excited. It was such a clear one,
like moving his arms and clapping, and I haven't seen that much enthusiasm in so long. He was so excited.
I will say it was so great that I kind of lost track of what they were saying, that we had to rewind it, and watching the scene back again where they say the title, it was kind of a lame speech and it felt kind of forced to be in there. It almost was
but that's how it's supposed to be. It's supposed to be forced.
Right. So like I'm conflicted. It's like I loved it, but looking back, it's like I think they were kind of like trying to get a Emmy award like speech, whatever, or win the Oscar for this. It was just kind of like a over the top speech of like, you could see that being clipped, and that would be kind of in like the award show, like this.
But that is specifically what this question is designed for, to find where they were like, we're going to go out of our way to say the title of the movie in the movie. So that they can put it in the trailer for this pre-Thanksgiving release or this summer blockbuster or whatever it's like being pitched as.
Maybe Saving Private Ryan was really the friends we made along the way. Like it was very much like okay.
Could you see Cameron Diaz in The Holiday just editing it and like a darker red, but we've got it.
Yes. Speaking of her, we'll get to that in a little bit.
He's so excited.
Could the movie be made today?
I'm sorry. No. Yes. Does the title fit the movie?
Does the title fit the movie?
Yes, they are It's not Private Ryan. It's Saving Private Ryan.
Yeah, I was trying to think of other ones, and I was like, We Were Soldiers. I was like, I think that's already a movie. Yeah, Behind Enemy Lines. No. I think it was about as good as you could get.
They nailed it.
Yeah.
Does the rating fit the movie?
Yeah.
Did we even talk? Oh, I'm sorry. I don't think we did. Rated R.
Yeah, rated R. Yeah, there was a lot of bodies just kind of being blown up, a lot of gore.
It is a tough first 20 minutes, 15 minutes.
Not really so much like the nudity or language or anything like that. Mostly just kind of the dead bodies. But rating fit the movie. Could you make the case for this being a Christmas movie?
No.
Unfortunately not. Yeah.
June.
Were there any actors that went on to do bigger things?
All right, everybody, tuck in. Here we go.
It was like Saving Private cameo. There was, what's his name? He played Sneaky Pete, and he was in a lot of things.
Oh yes, I spent okay. So just know, as he looks this up, I spent 80% of this movie trying to remember what his name is.
Giovanni Ribisi.
Yes, I think I was trying to say Paul Giovanni, but then that's because Paul Giamatti is in this, and that got in my head, and then I couldn't get it out. So Giovanni Ribisi.
Yes, and Paul Giamatti, which was kind of a weird choice,
like 4-second cameo.
Adam Goldberg, who was in Dazed and Confused, had a small part in a Friends episode. Also another like weird, interesting choice. Vin Diesel, early on in his career there. Bryan Cranston, looking young but also immortal. Jeremy Davies, who was in Lost and played Daniel Faraday. He's been a bunch of random things. The high-pitched voice guy from the beginning of The Holiday. There's the Cameron Diaz reference.
Diaz's boyfriend.
Yes. His name is Edward Burns. Played a pretty major part in that. Nathan Fillion, who I have a note that he looks a lot like young Ron Gronkowski. Ted Danson. Ryan Hurst, who played Jerry Bertier in Remember the Titans. Matt fucking Damon was in there.
Tom Hanks.
Tom Hanks.
I mean, obviously he didn't go on to do bigger things, but like
things. Anyone else that I missed here? I was trying to take note, but there were a lot of people that went on to do bigger things than this.
So I made the mistake early on of opening up Wikipedia to look up how old, I want to say Bryan Cranston, because he was in pretty early on in the movie. And I was like, I want to know how old he is, because he looked so much younger. Obviously, it's like 30 years ago. And whilst scrolling, I happened to scroll past Ted Danson, Paul Giamatti. Like I saw a bunch of these names, and then you were like, "Oh my God, is that?" And I was like, "Yep." "Oh my God, is that?" "Yep." And I hated myself a little bit because I really wish I hadn't known. But
yeah, it was definitely
still fun. It was fun for me from a to watch you remember.
It was like so many people, but so many people out of context so that you like wouldn't expect it to have been in this movie.
It's just like so many big names.
Mm-hmm.
Dear God.
I guess a lot of people wanted to be in a Spielberg movie, which, by the way, I didn't realize back-to-back weeks of Spielberg movies.
And back-to-back weeks of one of my last notes, John Williams movies.
I did not know. I did not catch that on this.
And then I got lost. There's probably a good chunk of the movie that I wasn't paying attention to because I was like, how many Culture Night movies has John Williams scored in? It's a lot.
Yeah, he does
good work.
Right.
He does culturally significant work.
He's not generally doing movies that everyone's like, oh, that was a dud. Generally, he takes anything and just makes it amazing.
Right.
What impact do you think the movie had on pop culture?
Well, I know people were talking about it.
Mm-hmm.
My little 7-year-old brain in 1998 was like, people are talking about this movie.
Yeah,
I didn't know anything about it, but I knew somebody was trying to save Private Ryan. Are we trying to be private about Ryan? Like, did I know the context? Absolutely not, but I knew people were talking about it.
Yeah, I agree. A lot of talking about it. I don't know like what overall was that groundbreaking from like the story or effects or anything that like maybe we'll find that out for the stuff on it segment. But yeah, overall it was just kind of like another World War II movie.
Really, I think quality cast.
Good
Steven
storytelling,
Spielberg.
Interesting story that isn't just stereotypical of like, oh, big German army coming, do this. It was a bit more than that, but also kind of that. And do you feel culture after watching it?
1,000%.
Yes, for the aforementioned, the fact that everyone was talking about it when we were of that, age.
And to see,
late
I mean,
90s.
how many people did you just name that were in this movie? Like, to see all of those people in the movie is like, oh man, like this is a piece of a much larger puzzle.
I feel like it must have been a movie where everyone was probably talking about the production of it too, and was like wanted to get in it in some capacity. Right.
I am pretty sure I went first last week, so I'm going to let you.
Yes. Most of my notes, fortunately, are just me keeping note of everyone, all the cameos and things we saw in this. So it shouldn't be too long. But my first note was that the back of the head of the guy at the beginning looked a lot like Matt Damon, that I wonder if they used his actual head in that shot where you see the old man walking before they do the flashback back to World War II. And I knew that was one of the things that I was going to say before we watched the movie that I remember was that Matt Damon was actually Private Ryan. I wasn't spoil anything.
Well, I was gonna say, but I didn't want to sound dumb. I was like, it's either Ben Affleck or Matt Damon. I feel like one of them is in it. But then it was Tom Hanks, and then I was confused for a while, and then I happened to stumble upon the internet that it was Matt Damon. But I knew
you gotta not look these things up.
But there's just so many things I need to know. But I knew one of the two of them was in it. Like
that's why when I see someone in it, I don't search for like Saving Private Ryan and the cast. I search for like, is that the guy from? And I'll look and be like, oh yeah, I'll search for Dazed and Confused, and I see like, oh, that was this guy. He was also happened to be in Saving Private Ryan, and I confirm that so that I'm not seeing.
And most of the time I do that, but this time I was like, oh, it's probably easier to just go this route, which it was not. Because I didn't realize so many people were going to be in this movie either.
Yeah. My next note was, I would love to see a D-Day based, like, or a movie based on D-Day from the German perspective.
100%.
Like on the beaches there. Can you imagine like the sense of like surprise and then just dread where you see just wave after wave coming all down the beach of all those people landing and you're mowing them down and it just doesn't stop.
Because my first thought when you said that was like, that'd be super interesting, but like, wouldn't that be a really short movie? But I feel like you do all the lead up to it. Like you build the compassion to the characters.
100%.
And then, because even though they're Germans, like you got to pull your audience in. And then the last like 5 minutes is like, or maybe 15 minutes is like mowing them down. Like, oh, we've got this. And then like, oh my God, maybe we don't have this. And then, and then I feel like just like a really dramatic like cut.
Well, there's also like, as far as I know, before D-Day, there was a lot of like false reports put out basically to mislead of like where the attack was going to happen. Like they had, we saw with Patton, there was a lot of like confusion about him kind of leading this charge and there are various things there. So much misdirection. And I think you could have a really good like story, like you said, of kind of building some sort of compassion. I don't know if you have like a character that like falls back to like the next line is like, killed in the very first wave, but just showing all that would be very interesting to just see how 100%. How that would look from the German perspective.
Yes. Cause also like we are aware that we see most things from American perspectives. And I feel like we've even talked about like the Revolutionary War and not necessarily here, but like you and I've talked about it. And sometimes I'm like, let's put the hat on the other head.
It's not just good guys versus bad guys, and it's not just like very one-sided of all these things. To see that perspective and just see how it was perceived and how it would have played out from that way. because all you ever see really is a bunch of guys in a bunker being like shooting at the Americans and then suddenly them blowing them up and moving from there. It'd be very interesting to see that perspective. Next note besides people was, I wonder how long the actual fighting on the beach took from like the time that they first like started taking fire from landing on the beach,
like in real life,
until the time that they had actually like, claimed the beach. Was that like a 30-minute or 6-hour or 2-day? Like how long did it take to actually take over the beach from the like by the Americans? I've seen so many movies and so many clips, so many things of showing that. Like, is that all just like a 2-hour ordeal, or was that a lot longer to actually take control there?
Yeah, that's I hadn't thought about it like that. Movies are always skewed. What's real life like?
Right. My next note was about, this was early on in this. A lot of these notes took place during the D-Day scene. Was, did a crew come by to reclaim the bodies and supplies from the beach? You see all the people being mowed down, and like they've got their own ammo, they've got their own guns, they've got all these things. Was someone having to go through and like take all those bodies and take? But I assume that probably happened after every battle. Is you're just going to burn perfectly good supplies and materials, unfortunately.
Yeah.
But that'd be very depressing to have to be assigned to that duty.
Right.
Next note was Matt fucking Damon, and how this felt very similar to Interstellar, where they're going to save this person for a good chunk of the movie, and then surprise, it's Matt Damon.
Look at you.
Right?
Connections.
It's like
it's not a real crossover, but like it's kind of.
But it kind of was, yeah. Instead of Tom Hanks, that one was Matthew McConaughey, but otherwise exactly the same. Not the same, but it was just
not at all. Very obvious.
But it's all very interesting because like it's not like, oh, you see cuts to Matt Damon's storyline that cuts to them coming to rescue him, like you would see a lot of movies where you see like both sides. It's very much like, oh, you're after this nebulous, nameless, faceless, not nameless, but faceless Private Ryan, and then suddenly it's there. Versus the same thing in Interstellar where they're talking about whatever the scientist's name is, and then suddenly you find out it's Matt Damon. Very interesting to me.
Huh? I hadn't thought about that. I like that.
Oh, my next note was about the Saving Private Ryan and it being really lame when they actually said it. And my last note was all of the smoke and the fog. So in that last town where they're trying to set up the defenses before the tanks and everyone comes through and all that, you see so much smoke still going on. And it's something I hadn't really thought about until recently, but I'm pretty sure that they do that in the movies, is just to obscure everything beyond just that set. Because you're not going to have a whole city that you're just like going to stand up and like half mowed down.
That makes sense.
You're going to have this like one block, and then you're going to use smoke. You can kind of see some through some places, like green trees, everything in the background, that I'm pretty sure they do that deliberately. And that's why you always see smoke and fire, even if something had been blown up for a week before. Still going just to obscure all that and kind of have that.
It's a good thought, especially pre like 2010 when we got really into CGI. And
so I was like, I'm interested to see in some of our later movies if that's still the same thing, or if they just do more editing after the fact to obscure all that. But
definitely going to be paying a lot more attention
effects, for sure. It made sense to do.
Interesting. I'm going to be chewing on that one for a while. Love that.
So now that's your turn.
That's it. Okay. Also, no, I didn't take a single note tonight for the whole last half of the movie. I was just taking it all in.
Like I said, most of my notes were just people.
Yeah.
And names.
So my first note is like, it's very obviously a very, very powerful opener with like the family following grandpa around. And I've been noticing this, like I listen to a lot of books, like I'm in a book club and like we've watched a lot of movies. I just feel like I would have felt more power in that if we had already followed the characters for the whole 2 hours and 50 minutes of the movie, to then see him like truly breaking down in the cemetery and like knowing it was Matt Damon's character. I personally would have liked it better at the end. Like, I just feel like there's a lot of like, especially books these days are like, let's tell it from like, we'll tell it from this and then we'll go back in time and then we'll go back and like, obviously this didn't have a bunch of jumping back and forth, but I just feel like we've gotten away from like, let's just tell a linear story. Let's build that compassion like we were talking about with the Germans and just like tell the story all the way through.
See, I like the way they did it where they didn't necessarily tell you who it was.
Definitely thought it was Tom Hanks the whole time.
And so it very much could have been the story of, oh, we tried to save this guy, but it like his whole family died and that's why I'm really sad. They don't really tell you why or who or anything that's going along there. There's kind of like people taking pictures of this person and you realize, oh, it's probably his family, and oh, he's at this cemetery. You're not really getting too much of that. And it's not like they cut back and forth like 100 times.
Yes, thank God.
That I think they did kind of a good job of giving best of both worlds.
Having watched the whole movie now that I've written that note, like it was fine. I just still feel like seeing him like emotionally break down like that would be like at the end being like, oh, like this man died and like you know that afterwards, but I just feel like once you know the whole story, there is some power in like saving that to the end.
I just think it would have been a little lame to have been like all taken place in 1940 and then suddenly cut to modern day and he's back there.
I mean, Schindler's List ends with them all in.
True.
And I think that was like, we just finished Schindler's List a week ago and we're going right into this, and it's like, okay, but we're like kind of starting with how I feel like Schindler's List ended, and I think that's like,
what would have been lame is if they had done the same thing as Schindler's List and they'd had actual Matt Damon there at the cemetery or something,
laying flowers. Yeah. That would have been a very weird transition for our specific purposes.
A bunch of people would clearly died laying flowers there.
So, anyways, that was mostly just for me to be like, I don't love the like back and forth. Obviously, this wasn't a ton of back and forth, but I am ready for like a story to just be told from start to finish. Anyways, my next note is then we jump to the boats. We're going right in, and they're like going into D-Day. And I'm at first thinking like, who are these people? Like, I would have liked to get to know them before they go straight into D-Day because we all know how D-Day goes. But then Tom Hanks opens his mouth, and I'm like, oh my God, it's Woody rallying to the toys. It's the first thing I thought. Like, it's just like, and he's awake. We have to go. Like, I mean, that was the first thing.
And they had like the actual army men.
Yep. That's all I could think about when I was watching like him in the boat, like giving directions to his men. I didn't think about it much throughout the rest of the movie, but that first scene, I was just like, oh my God, he's Woody. I was laughing really hard, and I was like, this is not a scene to laugh through. And then it got really sad and depressing.
It's weird. I've seen him in so many things, and I get that, but I never like trace him back to Woody of all things. I always have to remind myself when I'm watching Toy Story that it's him, because in my mind it's Woody talking. And
it wasn't the rest of the movie. It was just the specific giving of orders, because Woody at one or two points throughout the movies gives specific orders to the other toys where I was like, oh my God, like, and out of nowhere, because I normally don't think that either. Like all of Forrest Gump, obviously Forrest Gump's different, but like we've watched lots of movies with Tom Hanks, but this one I was like, oh my God, it's Woody. Okay, my next note is, how can they hear anything?
Right.
What kind of hearing damage do they have? Especially in 1944, if you've been in the war long enough, how can you hear literally anything? I personally feel like I'm half deaf, and I've never experienced any of the potential hearing loss situations that they have experienced.
Not to mention on the beach. Like,
yes, and it's specifically on the beach where I wrote this note, where I'm like, huh?
Without all the gunshots, like generally on most days there's like enough wind where you just like can't hear anything. Like it's just
the wind and the ocean, the waves sound is loud. Like beaches are loud. And then there's bombs and gunshots and people screaming and planes and like, how do you hear anything? How can you take, I would have been killed immediately because I would have never heard the direction of like, oh, go this way. Like I would just couldn't hear it. And
I would say, I don't know if it's as windy like on that beach as it is on the East Coast of America. And then I just realized a month or two ago when we flew over that exact area and it was so freaking windy that I thought our plane was going to fall apart.
My wine glass from the complimentary wine they gave me, I was literally like moving my body so it wouldn't spill. So
it was like, yeah, I'm pretty sure it's pretty windy there too.
Yeah. Yeah. So that's, I was just like, I can't even understand what they're saying on the movie that I'm watching, that let alone if this was like a real life situation, I would be in so much trouble. And then my next note is, so still on the beach, the bunkers, the fences, the trenches, the mines, those like things, I guess, to keep boats from like docking on the beaches. How much time? How do they appear there? I feel like you watch movies and like they're just trenches, but like someone has to be like, we're going to set up here and we're going to dig all these trenches and we're going to reinforce them with wood and then we're going to build these concrete bunkers. And like, there is so much on that specific beach. What if they'd gone to a different beach that you didn't do that to?
Yeah.
That I think the sheer manpower to make all of that happen always blows my mind in any war movie, whether from the Civil War to whatever else we've seen. Like it is absurd.
Like there's like some quote about like that war is like, something between like heavy stretches of just like sheer boredom, where it's like when it's on, it's on, like, you know, terrifying, you know, fighting for your life, all that sort of stuff. And then you've got crazy stretches where there's like nothing happening. You're just like digging ditches, or you're just trying not to get like infected by things. That what we see in the movies is not just like a bunch of dudes just bored digging bunkers. It is kind of crazy, but then it's also crazy to me is like so much of that is now not there anymore in a lot of these places. I like to fill all that stuff in. And
yeah, I was thinking about that, especially towards the end of the movie with like the town all burned down. And like we've spent a lot of time in Europe, specifically in the last 2 years. And I mean, not that we've been specifically to like Normandy or any of these places, but like they're like full vibrant towns that we've been to. And just like, how do you just like show back up in your hometown or to like a new town that you are going to live in now? And it's just like nothing. And just like that rebuilding process. And that's just like devastating. And obviously it's been a very long time and there has been rebuilding and like all of that kind of stuff, but it's just wild how we went from what we just saw in this movie to.
I feel like a lot of it like may have been even worse with World War I, with just the chemical warfare, just like absolutely just destroy literally everything in its path, and the trenches and everything.
Europe has a very soft place in my heart. I love it so much. I love being there. It makes me so happy. But just knowing like everything it went through from 1914 to 1945, like it was rough. I'm glad that they have recovered.
Yeah. I mean, yes, but there's also all the thousands of years before that of battles and fights and everything too. But yes.
Oh yeah. Anyways, my next note is just a general comment on like the well done casting. And I feel like this is the case with all World War II movies. It's just like there's the guy from Brooklyn and there's the guy from the South, and like just like that. It's like we are just a mix of American people and the mix of accents from the people, like the cast. And it always, because like someone's got a really strong New York accent and you're like, oh man, like he's from New York. And then like, oh, there's a real Southern guy. And then just it's always, as someone who doesn't personally feel like they have a super strong accent, you hear it and you're like, oh, that's different. And then you realize they're all together in one place, and it's realized like we're really like a mixed bag of Americans. We're supposed to all be on the same team. Feels less so that way currently, but like just like seeing that portrayed just through the way that people talk is like people from all over the country are there in Europe.
And you also think of that though kind of on purpose of like not wanting four brothers to be like in the same regiment or same unit or something, anything like that for those kind of reasons. But the thing about the movie we watched last year, fictional obviously, Legends of the Fall, where it's like people who like knew each other serving there. I think they kind of tried to not have that happen for like various reasons of avoiding those kind of like obvious tragedy stories. But also people making irrational decisions to try to save someone who they've had this lifelong connection with, try to reduce that as much as possible. But doing that would then result in people from like East Coast, West Coast serving all over, mixed in the European front, African front, Pacific front, all that. Which, you know,
yeah, and it's just like
as a byproduct of that.
It's not something I ever really thought about, but just like really hearing their accents and being like, oh yeah, that's right. Like it was really people from all over the country that were over in Europe fighting this war, which I feel like is really cool. And then one more note. My last note is John Williams, which we've already talked about. He scores all the great things. Oh no. I have to circling back to John Williams. The cinematography in this was very well done. And I don't know if 2 years ago when we started this podcast, I would have ever like actually paid attention to what cinematography was in the art of actually making a movie. But like they're on the beach and they're all fighting and everybody's dying and there's like blood splatters on the lens of the camera. Not like, so like it almost like brings you in as like part of the audience to be like, oh man, like the camera's dirty, or like there was a lot of movement of the camera, or maybe it was like raining one time. There was like several times where I was like, oh, the lens is dirty, or like it like brought me from the audience like into the movie some more. And that was obviously very intentionally done. And I thought that was just like so super cool. Yeah, it's definitely intentional. Like I mentioned last week with Schindler's List, of kind of the claustrophobic feeling, using that kind of like narrow field of view. With this, we definitely noticed some shots where it was extremely shaky, and I think they also combined some extended shots where it was just like one extended take. And I think in those cases, some of the situations where like it might have been bumpier than normal, they wanted to use that extended take. They're not going to reshoot that, but so many times that I think it kind of like played into that. But I definitely noticed the scene where you first meet Private Ryan was extremely shaky from walking the field with a tank there. And I think they kind of just had a really great take from that one long take, that they were like, well, it's bumpy, but we're going to use it. They could have stabilized it. They could have had a dolly shot and something differently as they're kind of going around to reveal that beyond the tank. But they definitely mixed and used that very intentionally throughout the movie. Even on the beach, I noticed some extended takes too. Yeah, I just feel like all of it was super interesting. And again, that's why I love doing this podcast for all of our rabid fans. I just have learned so much about movies, and I appreciate, like, I feel like for so much of childhood, it was like, oh, celebrities and like being a star and an actor. It was like what movies were to me. But now it's like, no, there's people that like really care about like what this looks like, about what this one frame of a movie looks like. And having edited lots of movies now, I know how small one frame can be. And just like appreciating the art on a bigger stand, like a bigger platform. I'm just like so grateful for that. So thanks for making me watch movies, even though I was so hesitant to do it for
Just
so
trying
long.
to culture you.
And then my last note, I wrote John Williams, and that is to remind me that I was like looking into John Williams and which of the Culture Night movies he scored, a lot of them. And then I was digging into his personal life a little bit. And did you know that his son is the lead singer of Toto?
What?
Again, another great moment captured on Culture Night. Africa is little John Williams' son, Joseph Williams.
That's bananas. No, I did not know that. That's crazy.
It happened really fast. You know, like Wikipedia, you click on one link and then it clicks to another, and then I was like Toto, and I was like, it can't be like that Toto. And I had to read it like all the way through to like fully realize, yep. And I scrolled down to make sure that it was like their song Africa reached Billboard, whatever. I knew it was him, but yeah.
That's crazy. No, I did not know that. That's
so.
You think that'd be kind of more connected, more mentioned.
Music runs in that family.
Yeah.
At least for that one song. So I just thought that was really interesting.
I wonder if there's ever been a collab where he kind of like did the orchestration and
because I mean, Africa is a song that slaps. It could use a good orchestral score.
Yeah.
Oh man, that's crazy. So anyways, that was just a fun fact to share.
Yeah.
And then just like the whole end of the movie, like you knew it was leading up. It was almost like Dirty Dozen, where it was like leading up to some kind of showdown, but there was a lot to take in, and I just like didn't even take notes because it was like you just kind of have to like watch and see how like each character plays out. And I do kind of wish there had been more of a like, I guess you did kind of see the like 2 or 3 people that survived from the group, but a little bit more of like a dedicated shot. Yeah. And I mean, I know that this is based on like loosely based on some true ideas, but like not an actual like event that happened.
Spoiler alert.
From the loose Googling I did, that I like if it had been like Schindler's List, they would have been like throwing up real facts at the end that I don't know.
Yeah, there was not a any sort of like show and then show like what the actual person looked like at the end, so I assumed. But it also, I feel like, met the movie trope of them explaining their strategy for that battle. And so as soon as they kind of were like, here, we're gonna do this, then this, then this, then this, immediately it's not gonna work out, or it's gonna start.
Bell
or it
tower
seems like it's
bombed.
working, and then suddenly something's gonna happen. And it's gonna screw it all up.
I was not expecting the planes to swoop in though. But overall, great movie, really well done.
Yeah,
I all day today I was like, I can't wait to see the end. I was like very much looking forward to it. So I am glad to have finally seen it and been able to say I've seen it, and I'm looking forward to doing a little bit more research and catching you guys in
after show.
The Slept On It. This is the after show.
In the Slept On It segment.
We're still, this new season 7, switching up, doing it all in one. The language has not caught up with me yet.
Yes. We'll see you in part C.
No, I was like, we need to like better label them. Part C. Slept On It.
Yes. Cheers.
Cheers. Cheers.
We slept on it.
We are back.
Got some thoughts.
We have a little bit of thoughts, and we are ready to dive back in to talk a little bit more about Saving Private Ryan, which was the movie we watched a couple days ago. And so does your rating change after sleeping on it? You rated it an 8.8 and I rated it an 8.1.
I don't think so. I think that feels about right. Overall, just really enjoyed it. Cultural significance, everything. Not quite as much in the quotability, but I would rewatch parts of it. Probably not the whole thing. But overall, great movie, solid movie. 8.8 sounds right.
I am sticking with my 8.1. Definitely one of the best movies that we have seen on the podcast. Just start to finish, very interesting, intrigues you right away, and
still very heavy. Like it's not like a light watch of like, oh, I just want to put this on a slow Tuesday night.
Yeah, you definitely have to commit to it for sure. But it was super interesting. Like it had me engaged, and acting was great. Cast was insane.
Yeah, I just loved every like 5 minutes. It seemed like there was another like either famous actor or a cameo or like something going on.
So with that, should we jump into some fact snacks?
Let's go it.
Do you want to get started, or do you want me to start?
I guess I can kind of get started with mine. I researched a little bit about the landing at Normandy, and I was trying to figure out like how long essentially that took. The movies, it kind of obviously it's compressed timeline, shows it takes a couple minutes or seconds really, but we know it's a bit longer than that. And from what I found, it seems like the the amount of time it took to overtake the beach varied obviously from where they landed there. The first waves at Utah Beach, it seemed like there was a little bit less resistance there, and that was kind of taken in about an hour. Whereas Omaha Beach, which is where this one was, took anywhere from, depending on like how you measure it, from like 2.5 hours to like almost the whole day. Of still like eliminating some pockets. They were able to get behind the lines, obviously, with paratroopers and work their way forward. But they definitely had higher casualties. I don't know if that's necessarily just because they had lost the element of surprise or just happened to be a more fortified beach. But that did take a couple hours to work through. But by the end of the day, basically all of the 5 beach landings all along the coast had successfully been completed. And then over the next week, they kind of were able to form a line across them to make it kind of one big I guess
section,
stronghold, so they could then bring in all of the heavy artillery and kind of build up the armies that way. So it still took a couple days to have kind of like enough of the full beach line secured, but all of the landings did complete that day.
Interesting. Mm-hmm. That makes sense. I never really thought much about it, and I like looking back in our notes, I was like, oh no, we were supposed to look that up, and yeah, and it's especially hard because obviously we were not there. We were not alive at the time. We weren't alive anywhere near the time that it happened. So we only see it from movies and TV shows that portray it, and they're always going to condense it down to a couple minutes.
And also something that Spielberg was intentional about. He wanted it to not look too easy. He thought that up to this point, a lot of the movies had been like basically propaganda of like, oh, the good guys storm in, they take the beach, and he's like, no, I wanted to feel real. I want everyone to understand just how difficult this was and how like dirty and hard it was. So he deliberately chose to portray Omaha instead of Utah, to be like, this was a hard fought battle. It was chaos. You didn't know which way was up. People are screaming for their mothers. Like it was just absolute mayhem and chaos, and it was dirty and it was hard. And
he portrayed that for sure, because that was a hard way to jump into this movie for sure.
It was the most expensive part of the movie, obviously, filming that opening scene.
Yes, I can just take over here real quick with one of my facts next, is that it took them over 3 weeks to capture the 25-minute opening scene. So it was, like you said, the most expensive because they were like, we're not going to do it quickly. It took us 25 days of shooting to capture 25 minutes of those landings. So they were not being shy with how long they were going to put in the work. They were going to make it happen. And that's impressive.
You got to get it right if you're putting that much effort into it.
For sure. And then kind of along those same lines is that because they didn't want to half-ass this scene, they actually hired real amputees or people with spinal injuries so they didn't have to like green screen or anything. I think it said they hired anywhere between 20 and 30 people with some kind of real life amputation to portray these scenes, and said they were very enthusiastic about their roles, like really leaning into it, which I first read it, I was like, I feel like, would that be like traumatizing?
I mean, I think that's really cool. Like that.
Yes.
They like to have like an actual thing where you're portraying something like very real and not just like, oh, the handicapped person or something along those lines. So it's like to have that real portrayal and to be able to make it actually feel authentic must have been a really awesome opportunity.
100%. And I feel like we have, especially in the last like 5 to 10 years, started to be more like, not everybody is an all white straight cast, like just trying to be more authentic in how we cast things anyways. That I just feel like anything like that's like, oh, we're really putting people that have experienced this, or maybe not experienced it to that extent, but like not just like, let's green screen this. I appreciate the effort that is put in there too. And to include people that like 50 years ago would have never been included in Hollywood for sure.
Right. So originally Spielberg had actually considered filming this in black and white, similar to Schindler's List. I'm
glad he didn't. I couldn't do 2 in a row.
Yeah, he said so. Instead, he's like, I feel like that wouldn't really necessarily tell the story, and it would make it feel like it wasn't as real. Like, trying to show all this, like it would kind of lose a bit of that sense of immersion. So he instead wanted it to replicate kind of a lot of the like war film that we actually have, and especially I think around that time they had digitally restoring World War II films and colorizing them, and he wanted it to have that feel. So he actually had a whole bunch of like camera effects employed where they actually like removed some of the filters from some of the lenses, scratched some of them to create weird different flares as things were going on. At one point he actually had a machine to actually kind of shake the camera in a certain way to kind of imitate like the concussive force of a bomb basically going off and jarring the camera. They had some people out in the field. I think the scene we mentioned where they actually reveal Matt Damon as Private Ryan was kind of a handheld shot, like really shaky to make you feel like you were in there, as if you were like circle. One of the actual war photographers or videographers in there, kind of getting that real feel. And some of the effects like deliberately chose to have like kind of a more flat color tone to not make it feel like super vibrant, but more like he wanted it to feel more lifelike.
dirty, rough, the way it was.
Yeah,
sure.
It's always cool like when you see those being like actual intentional choices and in the actual thought process to go through some of those and how different it could have been.
A genius. Let's stay on the trend of Steven Spielberg because I have a couple notes on him as well. He cast Tom Hanks because he didn't want the quote from this is a like John Wayne type, some kind of like war movie hero kind of person. And I feel like Tom Hanks is the perfect cast for that. Especially, I just kept going back to him being like, I'm an English teacher. And like, here I am. And I thought I'm so glad that was mentioned because I feel like people don't talk about like the actors portraying these soldiers don't talk about their lives besides their like wives and stuff at home. But it's like, oh no, I was like teaching high school English, or I was doing like, I was a mailman or
they weren't
whatever.
Just soldiers. They were pulled from their jobs and they went to do this. There's a whole big lifestyle change there.
Yeah. And especially like nowadays, like if military people are career military people where as like then it was like you were pulled out of your everyday life.
Drafted,
so I think
if you will
draft that to have him be like, okay, I'm picking an everyday guy because he's also portraying an everyday guy that is now this like military leader. And I just, that like hit home in a way I hadn't really thought about before. And then also to kind of take it back to our facts and acts from last week where we talked about how Steven Spielberg would have Robin Williams call into Schindler's List to do stand up to keep the mood light. Robin Williams is who introduced Steven Spielberg to Matt Damon, and that's how he got the role in this. Is some kind
interesting,
of really cool, like not really full circle, but like kind of full circle moment. Is that's what got him? I think he won his Oscar for Good Will Hunting, like in the process of making this movie, or kind of like right in the like maybe casting stage,
been, like just right after this.
So he is still relatively up and coming at the time, and Robin Williams is who introduced them, which I thought was very cool. And one last Steven Spielberg note is that he specifically wrote the role for Vin Diesel because he wanted Vin Diesel to be in the movie. And then like this article is talking about
before Fast and Furious too.
That like this is like this the war movie features one of Vin Diesel's most badass movie action scenes like of his career. That they were really hyping it up. So I guess this whoever wrote this article was like really excited that Vin Diesel was in this movie for about 4.5 minutes.
Yeah, he definitely played a much more subdued character than I'd expected. As soon as I saw him kind of be on the scene, it was like, wow. How's he going to take this over and do some crazy badass thing of like, have a big machine gun strapped to his back? But no, it was very much more authentic, I guess. Yeah.
And I was so surprised that it was such a short role. But when you have that many stars in one movie, they can only be in so long.
And then my last, like, not really a fact snack or anything, but we mentioned the similarities in this with Interstellar, with Matt Damon kind of being, needing to be rescued, whatever behind the lines. And coming out soon, depending on when you watch this and when we actually air this, coming out soon is the new Odyssey movie where Matt Damon is going to be playing. I don't even know the main character's name in the Odyssey.
Odysseus.
Odysseus, yes.
I was like, he's gonna know it, and then all of a sudden I was like, wait, I know it.
Draw complete bank.
I don't know where that came from.
But there was people online were making kind of a joke about how it's become like a recurring kind of character for him to be like this lost character needing to be like rescued or found or being far from home type thing. So
yeah, and even
become his role.
The Martian too. He needs to be rescued from Mars. Matt Damon. He's rescued from the janitor lifestyle in Good Will Hunting because he's apparently smart.
Sure, we could make a stretch for a lot more.
Yeah, let's make a case for all the movies Matt Damon's ever been in.
We could do a Matt Damon being rescued season next.
I will share one last fact snack, and that is that some of the cast almost quit the movie because Steven Spielberg made them go through boot camp, like to be soldiers. It's fairly
common for a lot of these movies too. Is they want them to kind of know that it's hard.
Oh, for sure. And I honestly think
also probably get them in shape too.
It gets them in shape. I think also like kind of builds that camaraderie team effort that obviously every war movie has because they are a team and they are working together to fight all of this stuff. And I think that kind of helps the actors in that way. And apparently just like there was a former U.S. Marine who was in charge of molding the men into soldiers as much as possible. They did physical hard training every day, and like it did not go well with the actors, which I can imagine.
Kind of the point. You're not supposed to be like, oh yeah, boot camp was so fun. Really loved it.
So great. Gonna do it every day. Yeah,
otherwise, everyone would just do that all the time. I'm sure it was miserable.
Yeah. But again, I agree, like the team building. And I think just like every fact snack we've shared has just shown like why this is such a great movie and why we both rated it over 8 is because everybody was committed. It was intentional and thoughtful from the camera work to the directing to the acting and even like writing the roles in there. It was
not just another war movie. Like I thought when we saw all the cameos, I was like, was this kind of a situation that everyone was like, oh, Spielberg's making a war movie, let's all just be in it. But it goes beyond that. A lot of the characters that were chosen for specific reasons as well to even have the small cameos.
Yeah. So it was a great movie. I think this will definitely be one of our favorites going forward. And like we talked about in the pre-show, was a movie I've been waiting to see for 26 years. So I'm glad to have finally seen it. And I'm really enjoying this season and just watching how all the different perspectives, watching how the narrative kind of shifts as we get further and further from it. And I think it's going to be a fun rest of the fun with asterisks.
I'm really excited for the next couple movies for sure.
Yeah, it's going to be a good one. I think we picked some good ones, but then at the same time, we keep being like, oh, we should have added this one, or we should there's so many.
There are plenty, and they're all
done.
very long. But I'm excited for the next ones we have scheduled for this season.
All right, well, that wraps it up for Saving Private Ryan. If you enjoyed this episode of our podcast, if you could rate and review wherever you are listening, or if you are watching us on YouTube, if you could like this video and subscribe to our YouTube feed. And if you have any questions or things you want to add to our discussion of all of these war movies, if you could email us at culturenightpod@gmail.com, we will check that and correct ourselves if we have made any mistakes here. And if you have any other thoughts or comments, send us an email, leave us a message at culturenightpod on Instagram, and we will catch you in the next one.
Cheers.
Bye. Cheers.